Well, hello there, folks. This is the OJHL All Access Podcast. So great to have you along for another episode. Alex Bashavansky here. We've got a few weeks left up until the battle for the Buckland begins. The most wonderful time of the year in the OJHL. The postseason kicking off in early March. And joining me on today's show will be two of the OJHL's best goalkeepers this season, hoping to lead their teams to the Buckland Cup. First will be Noah Tegalaar of the Collingwood Blues, who's trying to lead his squad to its third consecutive OJHL championship and second straight Centennial Cup. Also stopping by will be Michael Newlove of the Burlington Cougars, who up until the trade deadline was a Georgetown Raider until the two teams pulled off a swap. Now, both goalies were also recently listed on the NHL's midterm rankings for the upcoming draft this June. We will have them on today, and we will talk all about their season so far. But first, some quick news for you. Let's take a look at the latest CJHL rankings. The Greater Sudbury Cubs of the NOJHL continue to lead the way at number one. They extended their winning streak last week to 19 consecutive games. Leamington is the top OJHL team at number 3. Trenton one spot behind in 4th. The JRCs came in at number 9, and the Collingwood Blues slot in at 14th. Now let's take a look at how that compares to the OJHL coaches power rankings. The Flyers at number 1, the Hawks at number 2, JRC's 3, and Collingwood at number 4. So they are in agreement with those, the way they're slotted in the CJHL rankings anyway. Halliburton comes in at number 5, Milton at number 6. So great to see the Stouffville Spirit up in the top 10. They are at number 7, the Wellington Dukes number 8, the Patriots number 9, and the St. Mike's Buzzers come in at number 10. And now I am so happy to be joined by a player whose squad is featured prominently in both the CJHL and OJHL power rankings, Noah Tegalaar of the Collingwood Blues. Noah, how's it going?
It's good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Not as good as you are, though, with the season you're having so far, buddy. 16-4-1, 1.79 goals against average. How would you analyze the season you've had up until this point?
I think I've been doing really good. The expectation coming in was to be the guy for Collingwood, and I think I've done a pretty good job, and the team's in the best position for me to do so, so can't really complain.
Definitely not. Let's take a step back first, though, because you are a Georgetown kid. By the way, did you grow up playing Georgetown minor hockey as well?
No, the funny thing is I never actually did. I always played for other organizations, so.
But you were a did you ever go to Raiders games back in the day as a kid?
All the time. When I was when I was really young, we'd all go to them, and I kind of looked up to those guys.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, they had some great teams as well when you were growing up. Okay. So here's the question then. Georgetown kid, Southern Ontario, GTA. How the heck did you end up playing in Blind River last year with the Blind River Beavers of the NOJHL? How did that happen?
It was kind of unexpected. I played U18 for Guelph. Tried to make some junior teams around here, tried out for Georgetown, stuff like that. Didn't have any luck, didn't make any of the teams. So I told my U18 coach I was going to be going back. But then I went to the Sioux's main camp. Did pretty good, and one of the goalies for Blind River got injured, so they needed a guy. The coach came out to watch me, and they all agreed that they wanted to bring me in. So I had 3 days after the camp to go back home, get my stuff, and then I was going back up north.
And it paid off, clearly.
Yeah.
Because you were the NOJHL Rookie of the Year last year. So let's talk about playing up there. I mean, it must have been a fascinating experience going up to Northern Ontario, playing in a different league. It's a path not every kid from Southern Ontario gets to take.
Yeah, it was great. Like in Blind River, there's not a lot of people there. It's a pretty small population town, but the fans were great. Like they supported us, and that's what they lived for, was coming to our games and seeing us do good. So us being able to be a really good team that year and put up a good season for them was a really good experience.
Was it always your plan to come back to Southern Ontario eventually?
Yeah, the whole goal of last year was to kind of get me junior games, experience what it's like to play junior A, and then hopefully come back down here and find a team.
Well, you found a pretty good landing spot, didn't you? Hooking up with the back-to-back defending champion and national champions now in the Collingwood Blues. What's it been like playing up there at that beautiful old arena in front of those great fans in Collingwood so far?
Oh, it's great. I mean, from the coaches to the teams to the fans, it's been amazing so far. The fans always show up to the games and they're always cheering, and the team supports me in every way I need, and the coaches are just great. So I couldn't be happier.
So we'll be honest too. I mean, you of course know that you had big shoes to fill coming into the season. Noah Pack will go down as an absolute legend in Collingwood for leading them to those titles and, of course, the national championship. He's now at Yale University. When you came in and joined the team, did you know about Noah and what he'd managed to do with the squad?
Yeah, I heard about him last year just from looking at like the goalies in the CJHL and always hearing that he's at the top of the rankings. And once our season was over, we watched some playoffs like in the Centennial Cup down here, and just watching Pack, I knew about him before I came down here.
Did you actually go to the Centennial last year?
I watched one of the games, yeah.
Pretty cool atmosphere, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. So have you had a chance to meet Noah, or has he talked to any of the guys on the team since he went down to the NCAA?
I haven't had a chance to talk to him, but he definitely stays in touch with the team, and I had one little conversation with him at the ring night ceremony, and just that's about it. But
yeah, pretty cool ring ceremony there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Great to celebrate that with the fans and former players and stuff. So as a goaltender growing up, was there a specific player that you looked up to and that maybe you patterned your game after?
Well, when I was younger, it was kind of I just loved the goalies that played for the Leafs. I mean, that was kind of it. But then as I got older, I started to kind of understand it more. And recently, I've been trying to model it after Jake Ottinger. I think he's just one of the best goalies in the league, and I try and play like him.
Yeah, pretty good guy to model your game after, isn't it? But you are 16-4-1 so far this season with a 1.79 goals against average. One of the top goalies in the league. It's definitely been noticed, and we'll talk about a couple of the reasons why. But number one is, first, you were chosen to play for Team Canada East at the World Junior A Challenge in Camrose, Alberta, back in December. Not quite the result, of course, that we were all hoping for from Canada West or Canada East, but you had some fantastic games. I do the highlights for HN Live, which was covering the event, and I was laughing with announcer Dave Dawson afterwards because he was almost losing his voice, screaming about some of the saves that you were making against some really, really good competition as well. But talk about the experience of going to Alberta and getting the chance to play with that Canadian flag on your shirt.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, like growing up, you always watch the World Juniors and you watch the players play with that jersey on, and you kind of dream of doing that. So when I heard I got the invite, I was really excited, also nervous, and then went out there, and just the team was amazing and the coaches were amazing, and I kind of just did my best, and the team wish we could have done a little better, but it was definitely a great experience and helped my confidence and everything like that.
You won player of the game a few times, didn't you, as well, for Canada East?
Yeah, I think I got
more than
like
once, right?
3 games in a row.
3 games in a row. Yeah, no, it was a pretty phenomenal performance. But I mean, the scouts have definitely taken note of you, and we're going to have Michael Newlove on the show as well from the Burlington Cougars in just a few moments when you're done. You were both on NHL Central Scouting's midterm rankings for the draft in June. Just want to know, what's that like? What would it be like to hear your name called at the draft? And also, I mean, is it nerve-wracking at all knowing that all the scouts are watching you when you're out there between the posts?
Yeah, I mean, it would be an even bigger dream come true to hear my name get called. That's like the whole goal of playing as a kid is hearing your name in the NHL draft. So that's what we're working towards. But I try not to think about the scouts and stuff like that, and just try and kind of play my game, and then hopefully all the results come, and then all the stuff kind of happens. But I feel like if you think about it too much, you kind of start to worry and stuff like that. So I try and just focus on my play.
So that's at the end of this season. The draft will be taking place. But once we get to the end of the season, then what are your plans beyond that? Because you are a draft pick of the Sioux Greyhounds. I know we were talking about it on the show last week with Ron Valentine and Alan Cork, and we were saying, is Tegalaar committed to anybody, OHL or NCAA? Because we were kind of blown away that hadn't happened yet. But you are a draft pick of the Sioux Greyhounds. First, tell us why you didn't commit to Sioux right away, and is it in your plans to commit to the Greyhounds next year?
Yeah. Since like at the start of the year, the rule where NCAA and OHL, like, it wasn't a thing yet, so my goal was to go to school. So I decided to go out west instead of going to the Sioux. They tried to offer me at the start of the year, but I decided to go out west, and then that kind of fell apart. And then with the rule being changed, it opened up a lot more doors and everything like that. So it opens up the possibility to play for the Sioux or other teams, just depending on the situation. I could get my rates traded, or I could be playing for the Sioux. So we'll kind of see what happens.
So originally it was to keep your NCAA eligibility alive, and now, of course, as you mentioned, the rule changes now that you can do both. NCAA is a goal as well. Are there schools that you've been talking to so far?
Yeah, I've talked to some. I wish I could commit by the end of the year, but we'll see what happens. But that's the ultimate goal, is to go to D1 school.
Head south of the border, yeah. Finally, man, I'll let you go in just a second, but as I mentioned before, you guys are, you're going for the three-peat this year, the defending Centennial Cup champions. Definitely one of the favorites going into the postseason, which is coming up in I think just about five short weeks or so. Beginning of March, however many weeks away that is. But just talk about the team you guys have got and going down the stretch and what you think you can do this season.
I think we have a really good chance of winning 3 in a row. I mean, that would be a pretty big accomplishment to win 3 championships in a row. But I think we definitely have the team that's capable of doing it. And I think the playoffs is going to be a good place to show it. And I think we can go really deep, and I think we can win it all.
Looking forward to it, man. We call it the best time of year, playoff hockey in the OJHL. And listen, you're doing a fantastic job so far this season. Really looking forward to seeing what you can do in the playoffs and hopefully hearing your name called at the NHL draft in June. Noah, thanks so much for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And just one other quick news note for you. There's a very cool story on the OJHL website right now regarding CJHLers on NCAA Division I rosters this season. And there are currently 317 CJHL alumni that are competing. Just under 100 of those are players from the OJHL. There's a link to a PDF with the full list of players and some real prominent names that fans will recognize. Of course, last year's stars, Trevor Hoskin and Andy Reist of the Coburg Cougars, who are in Niagara right now, plus stars from previous seasons like Andrew Albano, who's with Michigan, Dalton Bancroft, George Figueres. He was so good with the North York Rangers, and a ton of others. Head to ojhl.ca to check out the story and the full list. And from one fantastic OJHL goaltender to another, I'm now joined by Michael Newlove of the Burlington Cougars. Michael, how are you doing?
Good, pretty good. How are you?
Can't complain, man. Can't complain. Yeah, this is great. We had Noah Tegalaar on earlier, and now we've got yourself, as mentioned, one of the top goalies in the league this season. 2 great stats that really pop out so far: 2.63 goals against average, 924 save percentage. Talk about the season and how you think it's gone so far for you.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the season, didn't get off to a great start how I wanted, but playing in a new league, just took my time, didn't stress out too much, and then after the first couple of weeks, I've been pretty happy about how it's been going and excited for the rest of the year.
So you're a native of Brampton, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, from Brampton. Last season you played with the AAA Halton Hurricanes. This season though, why did you choose to play in the OJ?
I mean, I've known about the OJ. I used to watch OJ games since I was young, and it's known as a great development league, you know, for the next level and hopefully going on to pro. So, and just this year was big, just getting into junior hockey games, and there's not much better leagues than the OJHL for junior.
Who was your team growing up? Who did you used to watch in the OJ?
Caledon Bombers or Caledon Admirals, or when they were in Brampton Bombers. They moved around a bit.
Did you got a game in with Caledon last year? Is that right?
Half a game, yeah.
Half a game, okay.
Yeah.
So you got your feet wet a little bit, and this year you signed with the Raiders, then they traded you at the deadline to the Burlington Cougars. What was that like being traded for the first time? Did you have an idea that might be happening at the deadline?
Coming to the end of the deadline, like the week of the deadline, it was starting to hear a little bit about it. I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to happen. To be honest, I really didn't think it was going to happen, but everything fell into place, I guess, and I'm happy with what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Georgetown's still got a shot at the playoffs, but Burlington's right there in a spot and super competitive team. We'll get to the Cougars in a moment, though. I want to know because, I mean, you've come so far in your goaltending career so far. There's a distance to go still. You got big aspirations, but growing up, when you were playing the game, was there a goalie that you really looked up to, whether it be in the NHL, that you patterned your game after?
Yeah, when I was really young. Just starting in the game as a Leafs fan, I was a big James Reimer guy.
Okay.
I loved watching him play, but as I got older, I mean, I've started to watch a lot more of the Russian goalies like Vasilevsky and Shesterkin and stuff like that. I mean, Those guys are so elite, and if I can take anything from their game, that'd be it.
How would you describe your game, the way that you play between the posts?
I play a more athletic game, more of a Russian style, I like to say, than a North American. Yeah. I like to use my athleticism, but I mean, at the same time, I like to keep the game simple, and I like to think I read the play really well.
You were the number 1 overall draft pick in the 2024 OHL under 18 draft by the Spitfires. And one thing I noticed was interesting. You signed with them back in early September. That was before the regulations changed regarding major junior players being able to play in the NCAA. So was it always your goal, first and foremost, to play in the Ontario Hockey League?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually funny you say that. So when I was really young, there was no doubt about the OHL in my mind that that's where I wanted to play. Right. And then as I got older, I started hearing about the NCAA, and then a couple years, I'd be set on NCAA and just kept switching. And I mean, once I got drafted to the OHL, I mean, I realized that it's very possible that I could play there very soon. So as soon as I realized that, the dream came back, and that was definitely
it was all OHL. And I mean, that's a huge decision because back then, I mean, did you have an idea? Were you reading anything about the fact that doors might soon open because of the lawsuits and everything, that path might become an option to the NCAA when you signed back in early September?
Yeah, I remember talking to my agent, and it wasn't a for sure thing, something you couldn't make your decision too much onto. Right. But it was in the back of your mind that it could happen, and that
was the best of all worlds.
Yeah.
So before I get to the NCAA, you managed to get in 2 games with the Spitfires this season, 2-0 as well. Record. What was that like playing, taking that step up to the O, and playing major junior for the first time with, I mean, just a storied franchise like the Spitfires?
Yeah, I mean, I was up with them for a little bit before, backing up and just going through like the major junior routine, so that was good. And then my first game I actually got thrown in 5 minutes in, so there wasn't much time for any nerves that game.
Was it injury or?
No, just a bad rough start by the team. So
Rough start, but I'm only going by what I read on Elite Prospects. But you were 2-0, so you picked up a win in that game.
Yeah.
What's it like playing in that atmosphere though? Going and playing, I mean, the huge rinks, all the crowds and everything like that. Little nerves your first time, or?
Oh yeah, definitely my first start the next day. I felt a little bit more, but at the beginning, but then once you get into the game, it's you just kind of block it out and you're just playing hockey.
So. I guess when you were thrown into the game 5 minutes and you didn't have time to get nervous, you just had to just hop on the ice and get in there, right? So let's talk NCAA then. Is it your plan now that we'll talk about Windsor in a second, what for next year, but is it your plan long-term to hopefully go NCAA as well after the Spitfires?
To be honest, I haven't really thought that much about it. I mean, the goal this year is to get drafted by an NHL team, and then if that happens, they'll hopefully give you some guidance on what they want you to do. But I mean, in the next couple of years, that'll definitely hopefully figure itself out.
Right. And after this season, then we'll get to the draft in a second, but obviously, I mean, you're talking to the Spits all the time. You're going to go to a camp this summer and then hopefully make the team full-time next fall. Is that the goal?
Yeah, that's definitely the plan.
Yeah. So I had Noah Tegalaar on of Collingwood on the show earlier. As I mentioned, you've both made that list. You talked about your goal of getting drafted. You were both listed on the NHL's midterm draft rankings. What's it like for you knowing that you could possibly hear your name called at the draft in June?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy thinking about it now. Going into the year, I mean, I knew it was possible, but seeing it kind of play out is really cool. But lots of work left to go for sure.
Yeah, I mean, big playoff run coming up for you guys. Hopefully, you're on a really good team there in Burlington. They're a real storied OJHL franchise too, going way back to the Central Junior B days, way before you were around, my friend. But I remember watching them way back, and they're starving for a title again, no question about it. Talk about this Burlington squad now, your new team, and what's made them so strong this season, and what you guys need to do down the stretch and into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, just going in right away, I felt how tight of a group it was. They've already kind of brought me in, which is really nice. But yeah, they're a really fast team. I remember playing against them in Georgetown. Really, really fast, smart team, especially in the offensive zone. But we got a really strong D core that'll shut other teams down, and a great coaching staff for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, George is fantastic. Yeah. No, looking forward to big things. Finally, before I let you go, I have to bring it up, of course. You've probably been asked this question a million times, and I've shown the clip a million times on the show, but you joined a pretty rare club getting a goalie goal earlier this season. Take us through the play in Georgetown and how exactly it went down.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So I think they ended up pulling their goalie with 3. They were down 4-1, so it was a 3-goal lead. And as soon as they pulled their goalie, that's all I started thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then they ended up scoring to make it 4-2 with like 30 seconds left. So at that point, I was like, oh, okay, no chance this game. And then right off the draw, they ended up dumping in. I saw the goalie going in the corner of my eye, and I was just like, here we go. And then after that, I don't really remember much. It was pretty much blacked out. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to lead the charge to the bench for the tap from the teammates, and super cool stuff. You know, I had Ron Valentine was on the show last week, who's a feature writer for the OJHL and a massive Cougars fan. He goes to all the home games, by the way. And he asked me the question. He said, "Do you think that's trending now, like trending among goaltenders? Because we've seen a lot more goalie goals the last couple of years." And I mean, it's a question I wanted to ask you is this something that goalies are thinking about a lot more these days? And I'm assuming video is part of it because there's so many of these that are now posted to Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and stuff. And you guys are probably getting a sense of the best situations maybe to go for it. I'm assuming you've seen other goalie goals. And is that in the back of your mind? You know that in a certain situation, that's prime time to kind of go for it?
Yeah, for sure. Leading up to that game, it was like a couple games back, pretty much every time the goalie pulls, it crossed your mind. I mean, if you're up one goal against like a really good team or something, or maybe not the game to do it, but yeah, it's definitely, at least in my mind, most times.
You had a 2-goal cushion though, so you knew you had a little bit of leeway there, right?
Yeah.
So, it's one of the best moments of the season for sure, and you've made some unbelievable saves this year that have kept your teams in the games, and you're doing a great job, man. Really, as I said to Noah, looking forward to hopefully hearing your name called at the NHL draft in June. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll do this again another time. Good luck the rest of the season as you guys get towards the playoffs.
Thank you very much.
And that is going to wrap things up for today. A huge thank you, of course, to Noah Tegalaar and Michael Newlove for joining me today. They're just having incredible seasons with their teams in the OJ, their first season in the OJ as well. And they're just doing a remarkable job. Just a reminder, folks, that to stay up to date with everything that's going on in the league all throughout the season and, of course, into the playoffs as well, you can check out the league's official social media outlets. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.